in here. I'm going to read some news. You're going to pay attention. And it's interesting with all these extra enhanced telescopes that keep getting greenlit and turned on, how many celestial bodies there are cropping up in the solar system. And they call them planetoids or planetesimals. Like Pluto used to be referred to as a planet, but now because it's not quite large enough, it's not part of the planet gang, and it's got an elliptical orbit. I think that's the major point. There's all sorts of stuff out there that we can barely see because it's so far away, but it's still orbiting the sun. It's still within its influence. I think there is the Kuiper Belt, and further out there's another zone just before the edge of the solar system called the Oort cloud, I think. So I thought this article would be interesting. From the Daily Mail, an article written by somebody called William Hunter. He likes to hunt for Williams, and I think he found a few, apparently. The secret world lurking in Earth's backyard. Scientists say a planet Y could be hiding in our solar system. Why is it Y, though? Why not X? Don't they usually call it Planet X? And could it just be lots and lots of these Pluto-sized dwarf planets swarming out there in the dark, maybe? It is a question that feels like it should have a straightforward answer. How many planets are in our solar system? Since Pluto was relegated back down to a dwarf planet status, almost everyone has agreed that the answer is 8. However, scientists say that it might be time to rewrite the textbooks. A new study has proposed that there could be a secret world lurking on the edge of our solar system. Dubbed Planet Y by researchers from Princeton University, this planet is said to be Earth-sized and rocky. The researchers were alerted to the possible planet after noticing that 50 objects in the Kuiper Belt, a region of icy objects beyond Neptune, were tilted on an unusual angle. We started trying to come up with an explanation other than a planet that could explain the tilt, but what we found is that you actually need a planet there, lead author Dr. Amir Siraj told CNN. This paper is not a discovery of a planet, but it's certainly the discovery of a puzzle for which a planet is a likely solution. What's the name of the planet the Anunnaki are supposed to be living on? There's a moon out. Which one is it? I think it might be Neptune. That looks just like the Death Star, but it's just a moon. Don't you worry. Since Pluto was axed from the list of planets, astronomers looking for the 9th planet have focused on the Kuiper Belt. This is a donut-shaped ring of icy objects, asteroids and dwarf planets beyond Neptune that scientists believe was left over by the creation of the 8 planets. Any potential planets hiding in this distant region would receive very little light from the sun, making them extremely hard to see with a conventional telescope. But scientists think they might be able to pick up on the traces of these hidden worlds by looking at how they affect other bodies in the Kuiper Belt. In 2016, Caltech astronomer Mike Brown and Konstantin Batygin, that's a good name, sir, proposed the 9th planet hypothesis, arguing that the movement of a dozen Kuiper Belt objects could only be caused by an enormous and very distant planet X. So now we're talking about Y. However, Dr. Siraj thinks there could be another 9th planet contender, hiding much closer to home. If it exists, Planet Y should be a rocky world with a mass between that of Earth and Mercury. Now, that makes it much smaller than Planet X, another theorized planet hiding in our solar system, believed to be a gas giant with a mass 10 times greater than Earth's. Brace yourselves, we're going to have a crack at watching this.
What we have discovered is that numerous features of the Kuiper Belt, a field of icy debris beyond the orbit of Neptune, can be understood if the solar system possesses an additional 9th planet that resides well beyond the orbits of the known planets.
When we looked at the outer solar system, we realized that while most of the very distant objects, these objects beyond Neptune, beyond Pluto, most of these objects, they all go around the sun and they're all sort of pointing off in all different directions. But the most distant objects all swing out in one direction in a very strange way that shouldn't happen. And we realized that the only way we could get them to all swing in one direction is if there is a massive planet also very distant in the solar system, keeping them in place while they all go around the sun. And we started looking at this and thinking, this must be either a coincidence or it's caused by something else. It can't be caused by a planet because that's crazy. There are no planets out there. I went from trying very hard to be skeptical that what we were talking about was true to suddenly thinking, oh, this actually might even be true.
So the object itself likely is more massive than the Earth, probably a little bit less massive than Neptune. It sits right in between that terrestrial to giant icy planet range. Its orbit, unlike the orbits of the known planets, is not nearly circular and planar. Instead, it is exceptionally wide, 20 times bigger than the orbit of Neptune. The orbital period of the Earth is, of course, 1 year. Right? The orbital period of Jupiter, the big player in our solar system, is about 10 years. The orbital period of this putative ninth planet is 20,000 years.
We have nothing like it in the solar system, so it's new for us. It is, however, the most common mass of planets that have been found around all of the other stars. People have always looked at all these other planets in this strange mass range and said, wow, I wonder what these are. I don't know what these are because we don't have anything like it in the solar system. Looks like maybe we do. There are many telescopes on the Earth that actually have a chance of being able to find it. And I think that many people will be inspired to use their telescopes. I'm really hoping that as we announce this, people start a worldwide search to go find this ninth planet.
History shows us that it's a bad idea to consistently say we have now reached the end of the solar system and there's nothing beyond what we already know.
And all those people who are mad that Pluto is no longer a planet can be thrilled to know that there's a real planet out there still to be found.
And those chaps seem to know what they're talking about. But you'd think, what with AI and all of these fantastic new telescopes that are popping up everywhere, that we would have some way to scan the skies and have AI pick out any discrepancies to find something. I mean, the larger an object is, the more of a surface it has to reflect light from the sun. So the more visible it should be, you'd think. That's my very limited understanding of sciencey stuff, but that makes sense to me. Anyway, moving on. Orbiting 100 to 200 times farther from the sun than the Earth, planet Y is also much closer than planet X, which is believed to orbit 400 times further from the sun than Earth. Oh, okay, so because it's closer, they're factoring in it could be smaller because it would have less of a gravitational effect on the local neighborhood and also have a smaller surface area to reflect light. So you'd have less likelihood to see it, maybe. However, at that distance, planet Y would still be extremely dim and difficult to detect. Likewise, researchers predict that planet Y's orbit is likely tilted by about 10 degrees from the orbital plane, which would make it harder to find. Importantly, the planet Y theory does not mean that planet X does not exist, meaning there could be as much as 10 planets in our solar system. In fact, Dr. Siraj's previous research suggests that there could be room for up to 5 more Earth-like planets to hide in the solar system's very outermost regions. That means our stellar neighborhood might be much more crowded than we had previously thought. However, not every astronomer is convinced of Dr. Siraj's calculations. Dr. Samantha Lawler, Associate Professor of Astronomy at the University of Regina in Canada, told CNN that these findings were not definitive, so we're just piggybacking off CNN. Although Planet Y is a plausible explanation for the tilted orbits of Kuiper Belt objects, without observational evidence there is no hard proof. However, that could change very soon thanks to Vera Rubin Observatory, which has just started taking photos of the sky with the world's largest digital camera. Over the next decade, the Vera Rubin Observatory will take a photo every 40 seconds for 8 to 12 hours at night, repeatedly scanning the entire sky. Scientists anticipate that this observatory will discover thousands of new objects, including Planet X and Planet Y, if they really are there. Dr. Siraj predicts, I think within the first 2 or 3 years of the observatory's mission, it will become definitive. If Planet Y is in the field of view of the telescope, it will be able to find it directly. Planet 9 orbits of objects beyond Neptune suggests something large is out there. But what? What is it? Could it be a black hole? If you can't see it, a black hole is the blackest of holes you could imagine. Problem about space is it's black. And the problem with black holes are they're black. So, unless it passes in front of something and lenses it, you have that gravitational lens effect where it can magnify the appearance of objects behind it. It'd be hard to spot, so maybe a black hole of a certain size. Astronomers believe that the orbits of a number of bodies in the distant reaches of the solar system have been disrupted by the pull of an as-yet unidentified planet. But is it Y or X? First proposed by a group at Caltech in the US, this alien world was theorized to explain the distorted paths seen in distant icy bodies. In order to fit in with the data they have, this alien world, popularly called Planet 9, would need to be roughly 4 times the size of Earth and 10 times the mass. Researchers say a body of this size and mass would explain the clustered paths of a number of icy minor planets beyond Neptune. I wonder whether they could infer its location based on that instead of it being a needle in a haystack. Perhaps you could do that. Was it an amateur astronomer that found 3i Atlas? Or Oumuamua? There's plenty of them out there. It's a huge orbit that would mean it takes between 10 and 20,000 years to make a single pass around the Sun. The theoretical Planet 9 is based on the gravitational pull it exerts on these bodies, with astronomers confident it will be found in the coming years. Those hoping for theoretical Earth-sized planets proposed by astrologers or science fiction writers which are hiding beyond the sun and linked with doomsday scenarios may have to keep searching. Here we go. Let's wade through all the spam mail. Moving on, let's go down. Comments. Engineering Maniac says probably the planet Labour are living on. Okay, it's very, very UK orientated. Let's uprate that one. Isn't one of the criteria in the definition of a planet that it has cleared its orbit of other smaller objects? That doesn't sound like the Kuiper Belt. Somebody didn't like that. Oh dear. Let's see what else there is. Let's get back up to the top. Are there any links? Yeah, it's got a very long orbital path. 10 to 20,000 years for Planet X. There's no mention of Planet Y there. Interesting. Read more. Scientists are baffled by a rogue planet growing at a record rate of 6 billion tons per second. What even is that? What are you talking about? Let's search a little bit more about the Kuiper Belt was discovered in 1992 by astronomers David Jewett and Jane Liu. I think we can trust Wikipedia on the Kuiper Belt. Go there. The Kuiper Belt is a circumstellar disk in the outer solar system extending from the orbit of Neptune at 30 astronomical units to approximately 50 AU from the Sun. It is similar to the asteroid belt, but is far larger, 20 times as wide and 20 to 200 times as massive. Like the asteroid belt, it contains mainly small bodies or remnants from when the solar system formed. While many asteroids are composed primarily of rock and metal. Nice. Where's my rock and metal? It consists mainly of small bodies or remnants of the solar system. Well, where was the rock and metal? While many asteroids are composed primarily of rock and metal, most Kuiper Belt objects are composed largely of frozen volatiles, termed ices, such as methane, ammonia, and water. Because I guess out there, the sun's heat isn't really intense enough to melt anything. So how much matter is there in the Kuiper Belt versus the rest of the solar system? Well, what have we got here? Look, J for Jupiter, S for Saturn, U for Uranus, let's say it that way, N for Neptune. What is that? Is that going to be the asteroid field there? Asteroid belt and the Kuiper Belt. So what's the Oort cloud then? Where is the Oort cloud? Is the Oort cloud before the Kuiper Belt? Oh, there we go. The Kuiper Belt is distinct from the hypothesized Oort cloud, which is believed to be 1,000 times more distant and mostly spherical. The objects within the Kuiper Belt, together with the members of the scattered disk and any potential Hills cloud or Oort cloud objects, are collectively referred to as trans-Neptunian objects. Well, if they're that far out, are they going to come in and say hello, or are they just going to stay out there? So it's like a shell around the solar system of icy bodies. But how much matter is there in the Kuiper Belt and the Oort cloud? Let's see. The Kuiper Belt is, well, it looks very much like a region where a planet would have formed, similar to the asteroid belt around here, but just further out. So I guess there's just not enough out there to have clumped it all together. Kuiper Belt and Oort cloud mass. Astronomers theorize that there are approximately 10 to the power of 12 to 10 to the power of 13 members of the Oort cloud, with a total mass of about 100 Earth masses. Objects within the Kuiper Belt are affected by the gravitation of the planets. Further out is a region of the Oort cloud What is 99.9% of the mass of the solar system? Probably the sun, I'd say. Yes, the sun. Well, it's not as massive as I thought it would be. Only 100 times the mass of Earth. What is the mass of Jupiter versus 317.8 Earth masses for just Jupiter? Okay, so the Kuiper Belt has a fair amount of stuff out there, but nowhere near as much as the inner system. Interesting. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of places to hide. So if you were, let's say, some kind of alien species who were interested in observing from a safe distance, being out in the Kuiper Belt on a rock or planetesimal large enough to give you all the resources you need, but small enough to be dark. I mean, they could cover the surface in like non-reflective black dust or something. Make it even harder to see. Yeah, maybe there's a whole cloaked planet out there. Maybe there's something deliberately hidden. If you've not found it and it's supposed to be the size of Neptune or whatever, you'd think you'd find it. You'd think you'd see it. So is there something very large out there that is deliberately hidden? I don't know, but it's fun. It's fun to think about. Will we ever know that? I don't know. But that's it for now. And make sure you like and share the stream. If you're not a good person, don't worry about it. You don't have to do that. But that is it for now. Pigwig, out.
Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oink, oink, wee, squeal, snort, snort, oinkity, squee. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinkity, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Snort, snuffle, oink, squee, squeal, wee, snort, oinkity, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinkity, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinkity, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Squeal, squeal. Snort, shuffle, oink, re-squeal, re-snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, 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 snuffle, re-squeeze, snort, oink, squeal, oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, re, snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 re, oh. Squeal, squeal, snort, snuffle, oink,